Dan is good. Breaking news. Andrew Stanton, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, John Carter has been announced by Peter Docter, the head of Pixar, as the director of Toy Story 5. Any thoughts? If you like this sort of content where I talk about movie news and editorials, be sure to check out my second channel, Sean Chandler Plus. I post over there almost daily. The segments are largely pulled from my live streams or collaborations or when I appear on the news. If you like this type of content, be sure to check it out. So I guess it is officially been announced that for Toy Story 5, they're getting Andrew Stanton, one of the most celebrated Pixar directors. He's been a part of the team since the 90s. He's been a part of the Brain Trust, and he's consistently put out hit films, both with critics and audiences, and that made a lot of money. And he did attempt to move into live action with John Carter. That did not go great for him, unfortunately, and so then it's like he's returned back to Pixar. Pixar is in the process of trying to reignite the system so that they have hit films as well as critical successes all at the same package, what they were doing before. And so they've announced that they're going to be doing more sequels, going back to familiar properties, and they're going back to a proven director. That's the other side to it, where these movies they've had the last several years, a lot of them have been new directors, bringing new talent into it. What do I think about Andrew Stanton directing Toy Story 5? Well, it's a little bit tough to say because there's several different ways to process it. Andrew Stanton is very good at this. Toy Story is a proven franchise. So proven director, proven franchise, put the two together, we should get another solid Pixar film. But other side to it, this is risk aversion. So I've been reading the book Creativity, Inc. Overcoming the Unseen Forces That Stand in the Way of True Inspiration. It's a book from about 10 years ago from Ed Catmull. He was a co-founder of Pixar. Eventually, he was the president of Disney Animation Studios. So he was one of the guys responsible for Pixar being awesome. He retired about 5 years back. And he wrote this book 10 years ago talking about Pixar and how he led the company. There's a chapter called The Hungry Beast and the Ugly Baby. And the concept of the beast is essentially the business side of things.
It's the group that generates your revenue, but it's also where your costs are. So I don't mean it's the hungry beast in a derogatory sense, but it's this beast that's got to be fed.
And then the ugly babies are your fresh new ideas.
People think making the movie sounds exciting, and it is exciting, but there's an imagination of what it must be like. It's sort of like having this beautiful baby, and the baby grows up to be this beautiful movie star. But what do you do if the baby is ugly? All right, and that is our reality, is that the new ideas are fragile, they don't look good, they take protection. You cannot judge them at that point.
And the whole chapter is about how it's very easy for the beast, the business side of things, to just eat up the babies and not allow them to grow into beautiful creations. So at one point in time, he says in the book, when efficiency or consistency of workflow are not balanced by other equally strong countervailing forces, the result is that new ideas or ugly babies aren't afforded the attention and protection they need to shine and mature. They are abandoned or never conceived of in the first place. Emphasis is placed on doing safer projects that mimic proven moneymakers just to keep something, anything, moving through the pipeline. See The Lion King 1.5, a direct-to-video effort that came out in 2004, 6 years after The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. This kind of thinking yields predictable, unoriginal fare because it prevents the kind of organic ferment that fuels true inspiration, but it does feed the beast. Look at the recent announcements about Pixar, where instead of allowing ugly babies to being developed, they're going back to proven moneymakers. They stated that in an article less than 2 weeks ago. He also says, success only creates more pressure to hurry up and succeed again, which is why at too many companies, the schedule drives the output, not the strength of the ideas. Stop and think about that quote in light of pretty much everything Disney's done over the last 5 years. They had a tremendous success in the year 2019, and then they launched Disney Plus. And you just look at Marvel. Are we greenlighting the best ideas for Marvel Disney Plus shows? Or are the bean counters in the schedule determining how many projects have to be greenlit, have to be made?
The most organized people are the ones who run the beast. So they put those people over the whole thing. And they bring the values to the upfront process, which is, okay, let's get on schedule, let's get this, because we've got to feed this beast here.
So they're trying to replicate success, and rather than greenlighting the best ideas, they're dictating how many things need to be produced. Then he continues on, the key to preventing this is balance. I see the give and take between constituencies in a business as central to its success. If the director is able to get everything he or she wants, we will likely end up with a film that's too long. If the marketing people get their way, we will only make films that mimic those that have already been proven to succeed. In other words, familiar to viewers, but in all likelihood, a creative failure. Once again, a week and a half ago, Pixar overtly stated, we're only going to greenlight movies for a little bit that we've already done before. We're going to mimic past success. In a healthy culture, all his constituencies recognize the importance of balancing competing desires. They want to be heard, but they don't have to win. And you look at Pixar right now, and it feels like they're just trying to mimic the past. Toy Story 5 with Andrew Stanton. It's a great franchise. He's a great director. He knows this franchise. I'm not worried that he will do a bad job. But at the core of this, the big picture idea in terms of Pixar, this feels like them looking to the past to try and copy something rather than working to allow their new ugly babies to grow up into their great new masterpieces and creative ideas. In the early stages, all you can do is do new, fresh things because you're at the beginning. It's new, fresh. But after you have success, you want to repeat the success. And you start becoming risk averse. You start being afraid to take chances, and you try and streamline the process to remove opportunities for things to go wrong. And in doing so, you lose the inspiration. The more successful you are, the more there's this pull towards doing what worked in the past, doing what you've already done. So you do sequels and you just keep going back to the same thing. Toy Story 5, directed by the guy that's directed a high percentage of Pixar films. That's been directing Pixar films for over 20 years. Going backwards. We're looking to the past to try and copy what worked in the past rather than discovering the future. It's not innovation anymore. It's playing it safe. And that's not how Pixar made a name for itself. Do I think Andrew Stanton will make a bad film? Probably not. He'll probably make a good film. And where will it fall amongst the other Toy Story films? It could be the worst of the main Toy Story films and still be very good. And I would get, it's very likely that will happen. But this isn't what made Pixar famous. It's not just copying the past. To the Toy Story 5 announcement, Stanton worked on the scripts for the previous 4 Toy Story films. It makes a lot of sense, which is the problem. Right, and that's where, it's one of those ones where, like, I don't hear Andrew Stanton and go, oh man, that guy really? Ugh. And I don't immediately hear Toy Story 5 and go, oh man, Toy Story 5, that franchise. I mean, that has a really good track record outside of Lightyear, and Andrew Stanton has a really good track record. But my issue is this kind of big picture, broad picture of where Pixar is at, where they're kind of stumbling a little bit, and what they're saying they're doing to fix it. And this announcement in that context. That whole article came out a week ago where they said we want to move away from personal stories and catharsis for the director and towards more broad appeal, things that have worked in the past. So we're going to do more Finding Nemo, more Incredibles, more Toy Story. We're going to do sequels, reboots. Then they announced we're going to bring back a director that's worked in the past. It's all this same safe thinking. That's what makes me nervous. Not that I don't trust Andrew Stanton. I guess it makes sense. Yeah, Andrew Stanton, sure. He's huge in Pixar and Toy Story. Sure, I get it. But he's also getting older. And we need to, who's the new talent that's emerging that's the future of Pixar? And what is the future stories that Pixar's telling that are working for critical acclaim and box office success, which is what they did for a very long time and what they're not fully doing anymore. That's what's missing. And Andrew Stanton won't be the solution to that. Even if the movie's a huge hit, even if the movie accomplishes what we're talking about and it gets great reviews, makes a lot of money, it doesn't solve the problem, which is Andrew Stanton is still getting older. He's the same guy they were working with in the 90s. So what's our succession plan here? How are we moving forward and not just relying on the past? Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.